Welcome back, folks, to another Shifting Schools episode. Excited, and I have to tell you, a little disappointed to bring you this episode that we recorded live at NCCE23 last week. I'm excited for you to hear the reflections, the conversations, the learning that happened at the conference, along with some cool projects that schools and districts are undertaking right now. But I'm also disappointed as the audio quality is not what I usually produce. So if you are a first-time listener, please don't judge our podcast on this audio. I feel like I'm constantly learning when it comes to podcasting, and I learned a valuable lesson on this one. We recorded this remotely with my Zoom H2N mic, which I love using for these types of conversations. It's a great compact mic that runs on 2 AA batteries and that I can quickly take out to record conversations when I'm traveling. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, as it's not the mic's fault, I don't think anyway, on the audio quality. We were in a room where the mic was on a table and we were all roughly 3 to 4 feet away from the mic. So you'll get to hear how well it is at picking up voices. What I wasn't ready for, or what I wasn't thinking about, was I wasn't ready for what interference it was also going to pick up. And I'm going to guess someone's cell phone. You will at times hear a buzzing sound that I've spent 4 hours trying to get out of the audio. If someone has a trick to reduce this type of sound, I'd love to hear it. But the buzzing you hear is annoying, but the conversation still comes through. I think it's a cell phone because it's consistently timed as the cell phone was sending out a signal to pair with another device. Think like Bluetooth or maybe Apple AirDrop or even just searching for a cell signal. Either way, I've learned a valuable lesson. When recording in a room with 5 or 6 other people, either turn off all other devices or put them far enough away that they don't interfere with the recording. I'd be lying as well if I didn't say I also think it's pretty cool that you get to hear data that is flying around us wirelessly all the time. Rarely do we think about our cell phones or our devices searching for signals, looking to communicate, but there they are, as you unfortunately will hear in today's episode. So I apologize in advance to both you, the listener, and those that gave their time to record this podcast. I did the best I could to clean it up and still have the conversation be heard. Now that I got that out of the way, NCCE23 was a blast this year. It was my first conference doing multiple sessions since NCCE20, right before everything shut down. I mean, literally, the city of Seattle was shutting down as the conference was wrapping up in 2020. So it was a full circle moment for me personally to be back at the conference that was the last conference I presented at 3 years ago. As you would imagine, and as you'll hear in this episode, ChatGPT and generative AI dominated the conversation of the conference, with digital and media literacy conversations still being a hot topic, as they have been for years now. Esports continues to also grow in popularity, with more and more schools starting esports teams. It has me thinking that maybe we need to do a mini-series on esports. If that is something that you would be interested in hearing, let us know at info@shiftingschools.com or on Twitter @shiftingschools. Just send a quick message saying you'd love to hear and learn more about esports in schools. If you want to get started, check out episode 193 with Chris Nettie from the Hoquiam School District, where he talks about the impact esports had on his school and larger community. More than anything, though, it was great to be back in person at NCCE. I swear to you, when I did turn in talks in my sessions, they were a bit louder than usual. They were more passionate than usual. And they were, well, just so nice to hear. It just drove home for me personally how much I love leading sessions with educators and how nothing, no technology, no matter how good, can replace interacting with another human being in person. With all that being said, I'm excited for you to hear some reflections from the conference, some ideas educators are taking back to their schools, and projects that are happening as we continue to prepare students for their future, not our past. I'm excited for you to hear this great conversation with awful audio buzzing. But first, a quick word from today's show sponsor.
Mackin Via from Mackin is a free digital content management system offering more than 3 million digital titles, including ebooks, audiobooks, read-alongs, databases, and videos. To date, this highly sought-after digital content management system has been awarded 20 distinctive national honors, including multiple Best of Show awards at ISTE, several awards of excellence by Tech and Learning, and Product of the Year by Modern Library Awards. Today, Mackin Via can be found in thousands of schools and accessed by more than 9 million students around the world. To see what McInVia can do for you, visit McInVia.com today. That's MACKINVIA.com and set up your free account. All right, welcome back to another episode of Shifting Schools. We are wrapping up NCCE23. You can follow the hashtag NCCE23. We're in the last third day of the conference, and I believe this is the last session. But we were able to just open up a room, and anybody that wanted to come and talk about their experience at NCCE, we were just going to record an episode to see how things are. So we're just going to have everybody introduce themselves and just talk about the conference. We'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm Josh Arling. I work in Tacoma Public Schools, and I am the new director of DART, which is Data Assessment, Research, and Technology. We also do the Student Information System and Enrollment.
I'm Brian Burns. I work in Spokane Public School District at Francis Scott Elementary, and I'm a Librarian Information Specialist.
Woohoo!
My name is Jesse Hines. I work down in Franklin Pierce Schools District, which is just south of the city of Tacoma. I am an elementary K-5 official title information technology specialist, but / librarian. Yeah.
I'm David Steiner. I am from Toppner School District, which is about 20 minutes east of Yakima, if nobody knows where that is at. And I'm currently the instructional technology coach, TOSA, for our whole district, K-12. Yeah.
Nice. I just I love it that we're in 2023 and we still have amazing different titles that all pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah.
And we still
A lot of the same work.
Yeah, we all did the same work. But but my title's this and I do that and everything else. Oh, welcome. Come on in. We're just getting started recording a podcast. If you want to be part of the podcast, pull up a chair.
Sorry, I didn't see that was the camera you sent to all of us.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, that's great. As we're kind of talking here, want to introduce yourself? We're recording now for the podcast, and I can edit out stuff later, so don't worry about it. But
Yeah, Sherry DeSalle, Tacoma Schools.
Tacoma Schools, awesome. It's good. Representing the home city. I like it. So let's just get started. Any themes from the conference? Like 3 days of the conference, any kind of like overarching themes that you feel like kind of came from this year? I don't know.
Well, yeah. There's like two major ones. Of course, AI.
Yeah, okay.
Big one. And then the funny thing is, I was talking to my colleague this morning. I said, about 10 years ago, I spoke at NCCE about cyberbullying and digital literacy and digital citizenship, and I hardly got anybody there. And then look at this. It's almost a whole strand here.
Yeah.
This year, I'm like, I was just head of the game.
Yeah. Head of your time.
But I like how, because AI and kind of info literacy, but combined with SEL, like with everybody, districts across the country all scrambling to find, some sort of comprehensive approach to SEL for the kids after the last couple of years. It was really exciting to see that, almost immediately the big question is like, okay, how can we even approach talking about this without talking about that technology interface that the kids are having on an hourly basis, but it's everywhere. I mean, those are like the two. Like you're having to choose between 2 or 3 sessions that are all talking about kind of some of the same stuff. So yeah, those are like 2 major ones.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone else?
One of my big takeaways was a lot of the presenters talked about that we don't know what we're going to be preparing our students for in the future, and some large percentage of the jobs that they're going to go to aren't even created yet. So how can we prepare them? But the focus is more on what skills they're going to need. We can teach them to be critical thinkers. We can teach them to be problem solvers. And that, to me, I think was kind of the theme I saw throughout a lot of the sessions. And then me as a librarian information specialist, I have that space and the time to work on those skills kind of outside of the classroom.
I like that.
That's something I picked up in several sessions.
Yeah, and as if anybody was in one of my sessions, I just am tired of hearing this. 85% of the jobs the kids are going to have
don't exist yet. And I'm like, well, but who cares? Like, I mean, that's something we can't control. You can't control that, but we can control the skills that kids leave our school system with. That is something we can control, and we know what those are. I mean, the world and corporations have told us what those are. So focus on those. Don't worry about the jobs; they'll take care of themselves. And if we create students who are adaptive learners and can adapt to new situations. Lifelong learning is what we used to call it back in the day, and that's what you want. You want to be able to adapt and to learn as all. Favorite session? Favorite session?
Yesterday. Sorry.
Which one?
Yours not going to be that guy. You're like, oh, your session. Of course it was your. So your session yesterday on ChatGPT, at the end, I was just like, I knew it I'd played in there.
Yeah.
But I hadn't played in there in that way. And then as you were talking about, like, your friend with the email and the softening of the tone, I was like, wow. And then I'm thinking about back to the SEL session and about critical thinking and about how we're going to have to get our students to be able to utilize these skills. And how do we do that with skills with AI and everything going, man, they're just going to start utilizing it. So it's going to be fascinating.
That's cool. Do you want to come be part of the podcast?
Part of a podcast?
A podcast. We're recording right now.
Come on, Amanda.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on up. Grab a chair. We can scoot around.
I didn't mean to be so fun.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, anyone else?
I think your session on ChatGPT was great. A lot of the information I already knew because I was doing my own research about it. But the way my colleague and I afterwards were just discussing it, and we're like, okay, kids are going to be able to write things, but then we're like, how are we going to take that to the next level? Well, what was Jeff saying? He was saying, well, now they're going to go straight into interviews instead of writing that essay. Well, now we need to prepare our kids for that interpersonal communication, either in-person interview or Zoom interview or whatever. And so we need to get them to start presenting and collaborating and getting them off the phones and back to face-to-face communication.
I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
We just had a session earlier this morning with Jason, and it was kind of the don't panic, don't fear the reaper approach to AI. And which I thought was interesting because it was set right opposite Lagarde's. We need to prepare kids to be able to be critical about what they're seeing, and that was an interesting juxtaposition. But his his approach to looking at how he said at the keynote, no, teachers are not going to be replaced by AI. If you're doing the job right, you're not going to get replaced. And watching some of the ways that he was using it to, we've all seen examples of it where it's like, okay, take this research paper, help me create a unit of 5 lessons based on that paper. I need, quiz questions. I need this and this and that. And then moments later, you've got a unit of 5 beautiful lessons, all aligned to standards and everything else. And what he was trying to get the educators in the room to kind of think about was that it's not, this isn't cheating.
Right.
This isn't not doing your job. This is saving you time.
Yeah.
So that then you can spend the rest of your time, building those relationships with the kids.
Yeah.
All those things that at times we're too exhausted to put the time and energy into because we are spending all of our time just crunching through all the things you're supposed to be reading.
Right.
Watching 20 YouTube videos to find the one that you're going to pull out and use.
Right, yeah.
And now you can press a button and AI will be like, well, these are the top 3 that I would suggest for you.
Yeah. For your grade level.
Summary.
Yeah.
So I really like that approach to it, that he's like, just think of it as giving you more time to do the stuff that we know
is the important
really
stuff.
Impacts the kids.
Yeah, I like that.
That was great.
It's a good message. That's a good message. Yeah. Welcome, Amanda. Do you want to tell us where you were? Where do you teach? What's your position?
I'm a digital learning coach in Tacoma.
In Tacoma, another Tacoma. I like Tacoma showing up. Great. That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's the AI thing is so I think that it's so cool. And to your point, I mean, this idea of a thought partner, I call it a thought partner, right? Like it can do these things for us. It can free up our time. The number one thing that I kept hearing, and I don't think it's there yet, but just how can it help me grade? I had so many teachers come up to me and say, how can this help me grade? I just need to get through grading. I just need to get through grading. And I mean, you can use it. Like there are ways to use it to help you with grading. But I don't know if it's there yet that I would trust it fully.
And Jason showed a great example of putting in, like, copied and pasted a PDF that was a rubric, fed the rubric in, then put in a writing sample and said, please grade that for me. And it was an exemplar, so it gave them all fours and a 3.
Yeah.
You can't just do all fours. You got to give a 3 somewhere in there. But then he also said, watch this. And he said, would you reconsider the grade on where I got a 3? And it reconsidered it and gave him a 4. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I think, as he even said, every student's best friend. Like, you don't like your grade? Will you reconsider it?
We'll just reconsider it for you.
The computer will automatically
you don't have to redo the paper. We'll just automatically give you a better grade because we asked you to reconsider it.
Right.
Yeah, it does have some of those. But it'll be interesting to see how it, I mean, we're in the infancy stages of this, so it'll be interesting to see. And who knows, we're all going to be going to a website soon where it'll just grade any paper for you. Like you'll be able to pick your rubric, and the AI, I'll just use that rubric against, I'll upload all these things from Google Classroom and just get my report. Or I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Where that goes. But who knows where it's going to go.
The AI will be grading against itself. Because the students will take the AI and put it into the AI and be like, I did a good job on that the first time. Why are you?
Yeah, I wrote a paper on ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT to grade it based on a rubric that ChatGPT, and it can't even get itself a 5. What's going on here? Yeah, it starts grading itself. Cool. On the SEL side, what were some of the takeaways? If you went into any sessions on the social emotional learning side, any sessions or any takeaways from anything you went to or heard or saw on that end?
Digital literacy is the literacy of the future. Like that piece, I know there's been, depending on like who's gonna do this, right? Is it gonna be our teaching librarians? Is it going to be the social studies teachers? Is it going to be, so everyone's like, is this somebody else's job? Yeah. But then thinking of this, I'm like, dang, and I have a 9th grade daughter. I'm going, yeah, you get manipulated left and right through, your stuff. And she now has a flip phone where 555 equals a number. Yeah. So I'm good for a minute, but because her other phone was taken away because she wasn't doing it the way you're supposed to do it. And so, she won't listen to this, so it'll be fine. Stumbles across it years later and be like, no, that's not me. Right. But I think that aspect of, like, if she had the social emotional tools, then the situation that she found herself in, she wouldn't have found herself in such a dire strait. Okay. Yeah. So I think that piece like struck me. I'm going, oh yeah. It should be all of us, not who's putting their finger on their nose saying not it. Yeah, I like that.
And I think there's another talk that I do, and I talk about this like coming out of the pandemic. And I think one of the biggest issues that we saw is before the pandemic, I was using this triangle of literacies where our we have just over time continued to stack literacies on top of each other. We have print literacy, which has been the foundation of human existence since any of us can remember, right? Print literacy is this big base of foundation. And then on top of that, we've stacked these other literacies. Like we have media literacy, we have information literacy, we have digital literacy. And as you stack them, right, it kind of forms a pyramid. And at the very top of that, I would say was kind of before the pandemic, we were all like kind of doing media literacy. It was kind of becoming a thing. We were checking the boxes from Common Sense Media. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and we took that pyramid and literally overnight flipped it upside down where everybody needed to have media literacy. You needed to know how to run a camera. You needed to know how to run a chat room. You needed to know how to log into Zoom and mute everybody. Like there's all this media literacy that not just as educators you needed to have, but everybody, right? Every student needed to have it. Parents at home needed to have it. And we found ourselves that we'd stacked literacies instead of replacing literacies. So the idea is now, are we in a place where we can start looking at replacing literacies or rearranging the pyramid to say it is now 2023. Print is still important, but is print literacy the base literacy? Or should the base literacy be information literacy, digital literacy, media literacy? Sure, I still want kids to understand print, and I want them to read print, and I want them to write print. But even more than that, with the way things are going, I want them to know how to listen to a podcast. I want them to know how do you watch a YouTube video and gather information out of it, right? That's a literacy skill. There's these other literacies in the world that we're in that we're starting to, I hope, that we're starting to look at, is there a different way to rearrange those literacies? And I don't know if we're there yet.
Why do we have to rearrange them? Why can't they just be combined?
Well, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I think it goes with one of the sessions I went to with analog books and digital readers, and kind of turning now how the TikTok generation reads videos and multimedia, and kind of how can we integrate that into print and book to get the kids reading again, and kind of goes to social emotional of not telling the kid who's read every Dogman book 5 times, oh, here, why don't you read a real book? I mean, you have a kid rereading the same book. That, to me, is a pretty big thing. That's what Jennifer Lagarde was talking about in all of her session was, no, we can get these kids to be super readers again, but they don't need to be reading the 500-page print book. They could be reading information in a form that kind of fits and aligns with them. And I mean, if you're going to build them up on that, that only has to help their social emotional status of, well, hey, look, I'm getting this. So.
And I do like reading. As long as it's the reading I like to read, which is, I think, everybody, right? We all have our genres we like and don't like, and I like to read my genres, and I don't like to read other genres, And I think I love that, right? And then if it happens to be an ebook, or you like to read comic books, or whatever it happens to be, reading is reading, and I want kids to engage in reading. And sure, you can be exposed to other things, but how much are we going to force that exposure? I think.
And you still get, I think a lot. I think my assumption is that lots of, if not most, educators, classroom teachers are coming to the point where, if a kid picks up a book. Like I said, if it's the same kid has read the same Dogman book 5 times, you know why? Because I just trust at some point, Dogman's going to be checked out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to point out there are some other cool books over there too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave them to it.
Yeah.
Right? That most educators are like, if they are picking up a print book, awesome. Yay. Yeah. Battle won.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not War and Peace.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to your point, when that flipped over and all of a sudden, we started off with, 4 weeks and 6 weeks we were supposed to be back, and then it was a year, and you just saw the kids and the families, you notice the families that just didn't have that digital literacy, that media literacy, and they were the ones who fell off the map. They were the ones who, after a few weeks, stopped calling you for help to get logged in or to open up the app, or that link didn't work. They stopped calling. They stopped showing up. So yeah, it's absolutely vital that these kids have it. But the families need it too. The families. I think it was in one of Lagarde's sessions. She had mentioned opening up an evening training for the parents to come in, and it was booked instantly. Yeah. Like overwhelming interest from the parents saying, yes, please help us understand how this is happening, because we watched our kids. Yeah. And we couldn't
help them. Yeah.
Couldn't help them.
Yeah, we didn't have the skills needed to support our kids. Yeah. And we want to have those skills, right? Parents want to have those skills. So how do we as an educational community support a wanted need? It's so much easier to train people when they want it. Right? So that's cool. I like that. Awesome. Anything else that you found interesting?
I'm just curious about how do we have our educators get the same digital literacy training? Because I think the piece is that at least I can speak for myself. Like I remember when AOL came with the CD and we put it in, and I was like,
Totally.
man, I got kicked out of the chat room again.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, stop messing around, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think, living on both sides of the divide, I don't know that, that everyone is at the same place with their learning of what's happening. And then how do we navigate that learning as well? And so I think being able to do, I guess what I'm thinking is, how do we help our teachers so that they can help our students be able to be teaching of it? Because if they're not necessarily that comfortable with the content, how are they going to be able to be the teachers of that content, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and when we don't know something, we get scared of it. I mean, we can use ChatGPT as an example, right? There's this instant, and it's like, you don't know how it works. And so there's this instant, like, I don't know if I want to use it, or I don't know if it's good for kids. We should just block it until we figure it out, right? We get into these mentalities, and it's just human nature of, like, we don't like change, right? And so it's this push and pull of, like, how can we support you in understanding what this does for you and for your kids, so that then we can have those conversations with students around whatever the topic happens to be.
And as a tech coach, I see it all the time, right? With my veteran teachers that are their span of looking at technology, they're afraid, or some of them are like, oh yeah. But it's that relationship piece, right? It's that when you're working with your teachers to then teach your students, you got to have that relationship where they have that buy-in with you. So when you bring something out like ChatGPT, like I'm doing a training right now, like building a training, asynchronous training for art staff, that when I bring that out, they'll know, okay, David has brought this out. It's going to be something serious, so let's go ahead and do it. So you have that relationship already.
What are some cool things you're doing at your schools? What is something you're excited about at the moment that you might be working on, or maybe something you want to take back, or you're excited to take back from the conference, even to be like, you know what, that's something I want to try or implement, or if it's not has anything to do with this, like, hey, at our school, we're really crazy, we're trying this crazy thing. Anybody got any crazy stuff going on?
We have a pretty cool video project happening at a school. They're working with a young local man who has gone through Tacoma schools, now has graduated, has an organization that talks specifically about how your identity and your experiences in your life impact who you become and what you choose to do with your life.
Oh, cool.
So he's talking to the kids at an elementary school about their identities and their experiences in their life, and they're developing kind of like a little documentary about who they are as humans. Beyond as just learners in the classroom. So how has my lived experience in my neighborhood impacted my belief systems and what I think about things? In this video, they're going to create, edit, and then they're going to show it at one of our local theaters. So parents and families are going to get to come and see their kids on the big screen with the creations they have going.
And so is every kid making their own?
So for this one, that's kind of a spot in Tacoma where we're working on trying to get some video editing software for our kids, but he's going to do the editing this time. They're more focused on the storytelling side of it, but they're also learning what it looks like to be a digital creator.
Oh, I love that.
And so many of them want to be YouTubers.
Yeah, right.
They want to, what they want to do with their lives is get on there and influence, is what they're saying. So he's showing them how can we take video in different types with, an iPad. You can use an iPad, you can use a phone, you can use an actual video camera, so they're going to get hands on those experiences as well. Talk about how it kind of can lead into lifelong careers and things that you can do later. But it's a pretty cool project.
How long has this project been going on? Like a full year thing?
So he's been working with the staff all year just on developing the mindset to take something like this on and to think of identity and experience being something that's important in the classroom. He started with the students with the actual lessons part of it probably 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And they're going to do the presentation in May or June.
Awesome. And will it be uploaded on YouTube? Because that would be like the full circle thing on your Tacoma YouTube channel or something.
It'll be up, and I think he's hoping to also, depending on how it goes submit them to some film festivals.
Oh,
too.
so cool.
Very cool.
That's
It
a
is a
really
cool
That's a cool project.
project.
I love that.
Yeah.
Such a
Which elementary then?
Franklin.
Franklin project. Cool.
I'm going to be working with a school I don't have much background information on it yet, where that's part of why I hopped on that and came over here. They are bringing in somebody from the outside that will be working with all of the students on creating podcasts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be fun.
yeah.
We can talk about that after we stop recording too. I've got a lot of resources for you on doing that stuff and some fun things we can do. Awesome. Great. Anyone else got anything cool going on?
I think one of the things that I took from this conference that I'm going to take back is your training. One of your first trainings, the professional learning, not professional development. I'm not going to use PD anymore.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
professional learning.
professional learning, and just your format of building things out, because I'm one of the PD specialists in my school district, so I'm going to look at that, and I'm also going to say, hey, this is how we should do things.
Cool.
And I'm going to say, yeah, because Jeff said so.
This is what Jeff said.
This is what Jeff said.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, at one of our elementary schools, one of the 5th grade teachers came to me and said, hey, I found this website called Story Jumper. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but kids get to create their own books, and
cool.
and they get to collaborate with each other, but they can be across the room and collaborate. So like
Google
slides
Doc-ish or something.
Yeah, but they have little characters. They have little. It's like a comic book style.
Okay.
And then you could buy the book. You could buy a hardcover,
Publish it and actually buy the book.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. And so she implemented. So she came to me. I said, I vetted it, gave it to my IT people. They vetted it, and then she ran with it.
Oh, cool.
And she had the principal come in, and he's like, yes, we need to have these printed.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
You could be a published author by 5th grade.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen kindergartners be published authors, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool what you can do with this stuff nowadays. Awesome. Anything else anybody want to chat about?
I just went to a session right before this. It was a panel, and it was 4 women who have grown up, and yeah, you were there.
Yes.
You were in it. But they were talking about what experiences led them to be able to choose to be computer scientists as they grow up. We had first generation university students,
Wow.
people who were from all walks of life, but one of them kept talking about how she's a Latina and nobody in her life had done computer science. No one knew what coding was.
Yeah.
She went into the university and nobody looked like her. So,
Yeah.
they really kind of had to scratch their way through the process. But something I thought was very interesting was that 3 of the 4 of them talked about a major influential part of their life was watching a TED Talk. They got they connected their lives to somebody on that screen through their conversation on a TED Talk.
Oh,
and that's what encouraged them to be able to move forward to becoming computer scientists as women.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, if we don't leverage our technology and look at things like TED Talks as an opportunity for kids to write TED Talks instead of write your 5-paragraph essay,
Yeah.
we're missing out on an opportunity to help them see beyond what they thought they'd be able to do.
Yeah,
in their life.
what's possible, right?
But that's like 3 out of 4 of them mentioned TED Talks. as being-
Interesting.
That's
And
the
influential.
person that I thought was the most influential person in my life. That's the conversation that made me decide I wanted to be a coder.
Wow.
It was very interesting.
Yeah. That's so cool. 'Cause you just think about, I'm sure we've all watched TED Talks. They are motivational. I mean, the people they get to do those, and I can totally see that. And if you don't have anybody in your surrounding that is like, who do you look up to? And so you could see something like that. That's so cool. And I love that idea. Like, where are we having kids write TED Talks, right? Script things out, even like with the videos that you're doing. I mean, there's so much writing in the script writing, and these poor kids think that you just become a YouTube influencer overnight and get 1 million views. And I love that. That's why I love making videos with kids, because, then all of a sudden they're like, I just want to be on I just want to be on YouTube. Like, well, you will be after we write everything out 5 times, after we've got the green screen right, after, there's so much production value that goes into it across the curriculum. That's cool. So awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for being part of the podcast. It's great to just kind of sit here and reflect. NCCE will be back in 24. We will be back in Seattle, I believe, February 14th to the 16th. So thank you all again. Thank you, Shifting Schools. Thank you, NCCE, for giving us the room. Until next time, we'll see you on the network.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Just a reminder, you can save $25 on any of our learning pathways at shiftingschools.com by using the code SSPOD25 at checkout. If you like today's show, or if you have something you'd like us to talk about, send us an email at info@shiftingschools.com. And of course, rates and reviews are always appreciated. Until next time, we'll see you on the network.